also known as the witch, and which typically wasn't how we think of as a witch. The name literally means one with knowledge of plants. So these individuals, and I say individuals because they weren't always women, had the knowledge passed down from generation to generation through their families. And the village witch would diagnose human and animal ailments. So they would be like a doctor and a vet all in one. And they would give out herbal remedies in the forms of powders, potions, and ointments. Sometimes they prescribe charms or cast spells to get rid of an illness. So some folk magic required the patient to do some quite strange things. So, for example, I've got one cure listed as boiling an egg and then burying it in an ant hill. And then your disease would disappear once the ants had eaten the egg. So there's some quite strange things going on, but there was also a lot of medicines, a lot of cures that came of the actual kind of like secret powers that the plants and the animals had. So can you think of any plants that might either hurt you or help heal you? Do you think of the ones that you might come across when you're out and about? You might think of a couple of plants that definitely are more likely to hurt you, but also some that maybe help that. If you think about, yep, dock leaves for nettles. Yep, that's what I was given a big clue for, that sort of thing. And that happens a lot, that there's a lot of plants that have something in nature that help you get better. The best cure for a nettle is actually inside the nettle leaf. So the liquid inside the nettle leaf, if you rub it on a nettle sting, will actually get rid of the nettle sting. It's just being brave enough to rub the nettle leaf, not the whole leaf on, but you have to break it open and you get the liquid inside it. So there's a lot of things like that in nature, and we're just going to go through about 6 different plants and animals that have healing properties or that can make you ill, or 1 or 2 that just have some really strange habits. Okay, so the first one is, as Dave mentioned a second ago, foxgloves. So these flowers look really, really pretty, but they're actually really dangerous. They contain chemicals called glycosides, and if you digest them, if you eat them, they directly affect your heart muscle. They slow your heartbeat down and they can cause a heart attack. But the plant is also has another property in that it's an emetic. And what that means is it makes you sick. So most of the time, if you ate it, you'd probably be like horrendously sick before it affected your heart. However, this is not something to do at home. In 2005, a botanist actually killed himself by eating just 2 leaves. Just ate 2 so that he wasn't sick, but actually 24 hours later, he had a heart attack from eating them. And then in 2003, there was a nurse called Charles Cullen, and he was found to have killed a lot of people in the hospitals that he worked as a nurse. It was like 45 people or something. And around 26 of these murders, he actually used the chemical from foxgloves and injected them with it. So got to be very careful. Foxglove is a bit of a weird name, isn't it? And there's a number of explanations for it. There's one that says it comes from folk's lore, which is that it's the fairies loved the way that the little flowers dangle down because it gave them somewhere to shelter. So it meant folks' love. Or there's also the idea that the fairies used to give the flowers to foxes, and the foxes would wear them as gloves so that when they went to raid the hen house, they didn't leave behind any footprints. A few ideas of those. So that's the foxglove. Our next plant with interesting qualities is the dandelion. We're all used to seeing these nice little plants. They've got lots of different beliefs in different cultures. So some people think, it's quite common here, that if you blow the seeds off when it's in the fluffy form, that you can tell the time. And other people think that if you count the number of times as well that you're to blow them all off, you can do a sort of like predicting love, a bit like daisies and love me not. The leaves are really rich in iron and vitamin A, so they're actually quite good for you, and they can be made into a tea, and the roots can be made into a coffee once they're roasted. But in folklore, it does say that people who pick dandelions will wet the bed. So the French names for the leaves literally means wet the bed. And there is a bit of truth in this, because the sap, I know sometimes when you pick them, you can see like a white sap on it. It's actually what we call a diuretic, and that's something that makes you do lots of wheeze. So it's easily absorbed through the skin, and it has been shown to have some diuretic properties. They've also been traditionally used for treating liver and gallbladder problems, because the tea is good for detoxing. So it's got loads of different uses. The jury's out on whether they do actually make you wet the bed, though. No definite proof on that one. Our next plant then is, I find this one fascinating. It's so this is ivy, and in America there's poison ivy, and that's a really dangerous plant. And this one's slightly different, English ivy, but it still has poisons in the leaves, and it's chemicals called saponins. And if you ate them, again, it's an emetic, it would make you sick, but it also has a purgative effect, which means it makes you do lots of poos to clean your insides out. You can see Ben's finding that quite disgusting. Yeah, don't eat ivy, it will make you very ill. But what's interesting about it was, in the 1400s, people used to mix ivy and other plants such as hemlock and lettuce, and then make a juice out of it. And then they'd soak a sponge in this juice, and the sponge would be placed over mouths of patients who were about to have surgery. And this was called the soporific sponge. And what it would actually do is it would send them to sleep for up to 96 hours, so about 4 days. And the idea was it sent them to sleep long enough to have whatever surgery they needed, but also it would help them recover from the surgery because they'd be resting and relaxing. So I think I'm quite glad that we've got anesthesia these days, but you know, it's the amazing chemicals that are inside these things. So now Ben looks horrified.
I just think it's really remarkable. I had no idea that ivy could send you to sleep for 4 days.
Yeah, I know. In a lot of herbal remedies, lettuce is in there as something that's calming. So there's something in lettuce that I think you have to have it in quite high quantities. I think one lettuce leaf isn't going to calm you down. Otherwise, slugs and rabbits and things like that would be so chilled out, wouldn't they? But put together, these plants do remarkable things, and to put you to sleep for 96 hours is quite something. So yeah, there is something in these plants. Our next one then is an animal. It's a ladybird. Now, I think most people love a ladybird, and they think they're really cute, and they're very lovely. But they do have a bit of a darker side to them. In most cultures, people think ladybirds are lucky. In Turkish, the name literally means luck bug. You got any idea why people might think ladybirds were lucky? Why would we like to have ladybirds around? I can't actually see the chat at the same time, so I don't know if anybody's putting in. Yeah, don't eat ivy. Nobody's got any ideas? Lots of spots?
Yes, it's saying that, yes, spots, yes.
They look like dice. What's bad about ladybirds? I'm coming to that. Okay, people like to have ladybirds around, particularly gardeners, because their favourite food is a little flies, like aphids. And these aphids are and pests that eat your crops, the ladybirds eat them. So we like to have them around. But the darker side, like the bright colours are there for a reason. They look lovely, but the bright red, most things in nature that are brightly coloured yet red or yellow, it's there as a warning sign. So the ladybird, it's basically saying to predators out there, don't eat me, I taste foul. And the reason they taste foul is that when they feel threatened, when they're frightened, ladybirds can squeeze out this foul smelling and foul tasting liquid from the joints in their legs. So if you were a bird or a hedgehog, would you want to eat one if they taste so foul? So you see that bright and you think, nope, I've had that before. You do that too, do you, Ben? When you're frightened? Okay, so yeah, you know, you wouldn't want to eat them. They taste disgusting. But also, fascinating fact, in the summer of 1976, in the UK, we had a massive increase in aphids. There was loads of them. Where there's lots of food for a creature, that creature will do really well. So we had a massive boom in ladybirds because their favourite food was everywhere. And we got a bit of a ladybird plague. The problem with that is at some point they ran out of aphids to eat and the ladybirds started to bite people instead. So watch out for the cute and cuddly ladybirds. They have foul smelling and tasting liquid and they bite when they've not got enough food. So be careful of them.
That's a horror movie I'd like to see.
Attack of the Ladybird. It'd be a bit different, wouldn't it?
I'd find it hard to struggle up any real sense of horror, but I guess with enough of them.
I can't imagine the bite would be too terrible either.
No, that's a bit
massive mouth parts, have they? But there we go. Our next animal is the grass snake. Now this is it's the largest of our 3 native snakes, and they reach up to about 2 meters long. And really, in a strange way, it's got no place on this talk because it's not venomous. So we talk about venomous and poisonous, and the difference is a venomous creature, the toxins are injected through bites and stings. So think of snakes, spiders, wasps, that sort of thing. Whereas something that's poisonous, you either absorb the poison through your skin or you would breathe it in or eat it. So that's the difference between poisonous and venomous. Grass snakes are not venomous, so they're not actually harmful to us, but they have a really weird trait, something that they do that is a little bit strange. And that is, if they feel frightened, they pretend they're dead by going completely limp and floppy, and they release this garlic smelling liquid from glands by their bottom. So they basically smell horrible and look like they're dead if they're frightened. Some people also say that they squeeze blood out from their nose and mouth when it's playing dead, but there's a little bit of controversy over there as to whether that's actually happening or not. Right then, our last creature. Where would a witch be without toads and newts? Right, there's an old wives' tale that touching toads will give you warts, probably because the toad has got warty skin. Everyone thinks I'll catch warts off it, but you can't. They're not true warts. They're just little bumps on the toad, and it's viruses that give you warts. It's not toads. They're not going to harm you in that way. But toads do secrete an irritant, something that's toxic and foul tasting from their skin. And the toxin can even kill a large dog. So you have to be quite careful where you've got dogs, pet dogs, where there's going to be toads. It paralyzes the victim and can eventually kill it. And only a few animals, such as the grass snake that we saw before, and the hedgehog seem unaffected by this toxin. They've developed a way of eating the toad while not actually touching their skin. They only release this toxin though if they feel threatened or provoked or frightened. But if you do touch a toad, you should wash your hands after handling it. Not that I'm convinced you're all going out handling toads every 5 minutes, but just if you do get a chance to touch a toad, wash your hands afterwards, just to be on the safe side. So they were our 6 poison garden creatures. Why would you eat a toad or a frog? Why would you eat a toad or frog? We probably wouldn't want to eat a toad, but there's plenty of animals out there that would want to eat a toad. But yeah.
Just as people do drink snake blood, people eat everything, don't they, really? I mean, there are people who eat frogs. I don't know if toads is on the menu, but
yeah, you never hear of like toad legs in a restaurant, do you?
No, definitely heard of frog legs. I ate a spider once. I've heard we all eat spiders all the time. I ate a big spider, a tarantula, when I was in Cambodia many years ago. So yeah, that was horrible. Have you ever eaten sticky food?
I've definitely seen dried frogs available in a market in another country somewhere, where you can just get yourself a dried frog and walk down the street kind of munching on it.
Like, does it come on a stick for extra enjoyment?
I think it would have to be dipped in chocolate for me, really.
Well, chocolate frogs are a thing, aren't they, in Harry Potter?
Oh, I've got to admit, I've never read or seen Harry Potter.
What? That's a massive oversight, Diane. You should correct it, really.
I know. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, there we go. So, people at home, have you ever eaten a toad or any other vile, disgusting food? Maybe I don't want to say vile, disgusting. That's insulting. Maybe it's delicious.
Well, people might just say I've eaten sprouts, and that's vile and disgusting.
I would second that. I think sprouts, Brussels sprouts. I think they are already covered in a vile toxin, and that vile toxin is sprouts. That is as it's made up.
I love a sprout, I have to say.
I've eaten caterpillars in Africa. They have these big, really big, chunky, stripy caterpillars literally everywhere, and they're kind of a delicacy. And I've eaten, and they're actually quite reasonable.
Was it like chicken?
No, it's kind of like
okay, because that's often what when someone says X food it is. Because I ate a snake and what it tasted like chicken.
No, it was got kind of a texture of its own, a once in a lifetime experience.
There you are. So, not that good then. Well, I think it might be activity time now. What are we up to? I think this is you again, Dan. What are we up to?
Sorry, I lost my connection for a minute there. Can you hear me?
I want to know what Jonathan thought about his snails. He said he's eaten snails.
Really?
So, yeah, I was just seeing in the chat, he said he's eaten snails. I want to know what he thinks of them.
Jonathan, we'll look out for your reply on there. Was it yummy?
Oh.
Guys, with the emojis, it's great, but if you put too many on there, you can't see what everybody else is saying. So
Chewy.
There we go. Chewy snails. That sounds delicious.
I can imagine.
I've always thought they might be a bit rubbery and gritty. Were they gritty?
Well, you're supposed to feed them porridge, I think, before you cook them for a few days, and that kind of purges them. Or they could have dandelion. Was it dandelion? It was one of the ones that was purgative, wasn't it? Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, dandelions, they'd be weeing a lot.
Yes, yeah. Purge. I can't. Yeah.
So despite the fact that, like, I haven't watched Harry Potter and things like that,
garlic chewing gum.
we're going to make a magic wand. So you should have got in your information about the webinar that the things that you need to have with you are a stick, vegetable peeler, a glove, and some wool or string and scissors. So if you want to have like a few minutes to whip and get the stuff, you're very welcome to nip and get it all. We can always keep talking about weird things we've eaten while you have a few minutes to go get the things that you need.
Let's give everybody a couple of minutes. So some people don't have it, so perhaps we'll just make it in a minute, and then people can always make it later.
Okay, so there's a reason why there's glove. Now, I know you peel vegetables at home, because I know you all help your parents all the time peeling the vegetables. But when we do like forest school type things, we always try and keep to safety. So you'd wear a glove on your hand that you don't write with. Okay, so I write with my right hand, so I've got a glove on my left hand. You've got your stick, and you want to figure out which is the magic end, to try and wave it from each end. See which end you think is the handle and which end you think is the stick. All right, I think this is my magic end that's going to do the magic. So this is my vegetable peeler. The white bit's the handle, that's the bit that's safe to hold. The silver bit is the blade that does the cutting. So I'm going to keep my hand away from the blade, okay? And when you're using it, you want to keep it away from your body all the time. So I'm actually going to put my stick under my arm like this, so it's nice and steady. Putting my legs out to the side, so I'm pulling it away from myself all the time, and there's nobody here I'm likely to catch with the blade, and no part of me. Okay, I'm making a lovely mess on the floor here. It is better to do this outside. If any of you are doing this and making it, then send a picture in of yourself doing it to us. Okay, so you just want to take the surface off. You get really nice fresh wood under there. Okay, now I'm going to leave a bit on for my handle. You can strip it all off if you want, but remember, always using the blade away from yourself. So when you want to, you can peel all of it if you want. You can do just the tip. You can do most of it. Like I could think, well, I'm just going to leave wood on the handle if you want. But if you want to do the other end, remember, you need to turn your stick around and do it the other way, away from yourself. So you're always peeling away from yourself and not to yourself. Okay? And the next thing you're going to do, I can take my glove off for this now, is I've got some wool. And I pick green because that's one of my favourite colours. You could have string, anything like this. And this is just to decorate the handle a little bit. Make yourself a nice comfy handle because you might be using your wand a lot. So all you're going to do is tie the wool on here, a bit like you would tying a shoelace, that first knot. Okay. Right, so I've tied it on and I'm going to leave a little string there. Green sucks, Joe, how dare you? Green's lovely. Right, and then you're going to wrap this round and round and round and make a nice handle for your wand. Okay, you could choose Halloween colours if you wanted. You could have like orange and black, purple, whatever you want. And you keep going to the end of your wool. And if you want more, you can add another bit on. People are not liking green here.
Really noticed that. I'm really feeling like, and you know, green is my son's favorite color. Oh, well, we do. Sophie likes green, so there we are.
Yeah, I like green. So when you get to the end of your wool, you can always add another bit on and keep going round. But when you've got enough on, you've got the end that you started with and your final end. You can tie a knot in that, wrap it round a bit, tie a few knots just so that your wool doesn't fall off. You can make that bit as fancy or as plain as you want to. You could put different colours up here. You could overlap them, whatever you want. Really nice to see what you do. Red's better, is it, Joe? Okie dokie. So I've got a nice comfortable handle now. Peel it as much as you want, put as much of a handle as you want. And then, I don't know, do you want to come up with a name for your wand? You want to maybe go and cast a magic spell? What I was going to suggest now is, and it's not very nice weather outside, I appreciate that. Get a waterproof coat on, dash out for a few minutes, get a little cup, just any sort of cup, or any, you know, plastic cup, a glass, anything like that. Go outside and find some little bits of plant, maybe some soil, just natural things, and try and make a smelly potion. So put things in there that you think will smell. You could try and make it smell nice. You could want it to smell horrible. It's entirely up to you. A little bit of water in there, get a stick and mash it up, maybe make a magic spell, and then tell us what your spell's for, and if you've given a name to your potion and your wand. You can have a go at that. Doing it on Minecraft. Interesting. Anything that you make, send us a picture of it so we know that you've been doing it and we've seen what you've done. We get it. Happy Halloween. Brilliant. All go outside then. Make a little magic potion. See how smelly you can make it. And then come back and tell us what it smells like and what it's called and what it's going to do and what your magic word was.
So what are you going to put in your smelly potion then, Dave and Diane?
I like to put a bit of hogweed in because that smells really stinky.
Yeah, I've got quite a few stinky plants in my garden that have still got a few flowers on and things. There's some rotten apples.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, I've left them on the tree for the wildlife a little bit, for the wasps and things like that. Absolutely love it. Yeah, loads of stuff.
Is yours going to smell of cider?
That would be nice. Kind of have a little bit of a cidery type tinge to it. Yeah, that would be good.
We've got somebody in the chat suggesting using durian, which is it's got a pretty foul smell to it, reputedly, isn't it?
Yeah. Somebody's going to use her potion to kill boys. Oh, and Gemma's got a spell book. What's your spell book about? It wouldn't be the lost spells, would it? That one? Oh, she's only going to kill a few. Can you still see bats on an evening? Smelly socks? Oh, yours smells like smelly socks. Timothy, does your potion smell like smelly socks, or are you putting smelly socks in your potion?
Ooh, smelly socks in a potion would be a good idea. I can probably find some of those somewhere.
We've done a few long, wet walks this week. I think we've got quite a few smelly socks about.
Yes. Dog hair. I could probably put some of that in.
Yeah. We're putting smelly socks in the potion. All right, then.
Yeah. Jess is definitely taking no prisoners about the battle of the sexes has come to the chat.
Oh, dear. Has anybody got...
to answer the question about bats?
Yeah, of course you can.
Do you want me to answer the question about bats? Somebody said, "Can you still?"
We've had a question. Yeah. Well, can you still see bats this time of year?
I spotted that on the chat. It's that time of year when bats are really starting to kind of find the places where they're going to hibernate. So they're starting to go in. They're not quite fast asleep yet. They're just kind of finding partners and kind of having special cuddles with each other in the little nice dark, not damp. They're nice and dry, nice dry places. So they're starting to go in. You might see the odd one on a mild night, but it's that time where they're all just kind of starting to settle down. And really, over between now and November, they'll all be in hibernating right the way through till February, and they'll be starving by the end of that. Imagine not eating till then. Goodness me. I guess you kind of shut yourself down there, don't you? So your body doesn't use much. It's like when you're in bed on a cold night and you've got your quilt over you and you're just like not moving.
I've seen a few about lately, but it has only been on the dry, clear nights that I've seen them. Yeah. But not in the last few nights.
No, that's it. Yeah, they're on the way in now.
So
who doesn't like red? Oh,
I know there's right colour battles going on in the chat at the moment, aren't there? Has anybody made a potion? Has anybody got any more potion ingredients they want to share? If not, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go over to some questions and sharing from you all. Oh dear, poor old Joe slipped over outside. I hope you were okay.
Oh, Joe, no. Well, maybe you should make a spell to stop whatever it was that made you slip over. Stop being slippy.
Canal water. Yeah.
Nice.
We're going to have
I like the enthusiasm they're putting into it. Oh, Joe, don't worry. Do it another time instead. You've got a bit more time. Make a little smelly potion and make that thing stop being slippy. You'll be fine.
I wish I lived so close to a canal that I could get canal water in my potion. That'd be great.
How far? You're close to the river, aren't you, David?
No, I live up on the hill. Yeah, miles away from the river.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is let's do some questions and suggestions from all of you guys. So perhaps what you want to talk about is spooky wildlife. Oh, hang on, no, sorry. Before that, we've got a quiz. I've got an exciting. You're going to do a quiz. I forgot about that. Don't worry, it's not a quiz for us, Dave and Diane. We don't have to. Take part, but we're going to test to see what people have learned at home. Right, so it's quiz time, and I believe Diane, you're our quiz master for this one.
I have some clues. So, okay, you've got to guess who I am. All right. So I'm going to give you 4 clues, and there should be a poll that pops up, and you can vote on the poll. And obviously, as we go through the clues, it'll get a little bit more obvious which it is. So you could always see if you can get it right near the start or not. Okay, so the first clue is I am toxic.
So toxic means poisonous.
Yeah. A second one, only a few animals can eat me without getting ill. My toxin comes out of my skin.
Oh, you can change your vote if you want to, by the way.
And people wrongly thought I would give them warts. Lots of people changing it now.
They are, yeah, there's a big change at the end there. Okay, let's end it there and let's see what you got.
64% got the correct answer. It was a toad. Well done. Impressive though, nobody thought the grass snake was toxic. There we go, there's our toad. Okay, number 2. I have chemicals inside me called saponins. My saponins make people sick if they eat me. I have an American relative who is even more dangerous. And the last clue, people used to use me to make a juice that would make people sleep through surgery.
Let's have a look.
Genius says 89% had ivy. Correct. Well done. Okay, number 3. I contain chemicals which make people sick. The chemicals can also slow down heartbeats. A man once killed himself by eating just 2 of my leaves.
Definitely not a toad then.
And children were kept away from me by being told it was bad luck as it made the fairies homeless because they lived in my flowers.
Let's have a look.
100%. Fantastic. Maybe I'm making these too easy. Okay. Number 4. I release a garlic smelling liquid. I pretend to be dead when predators are near me. I'm actually not venomous at all. And I can reach up to 2 meters in length.
So, yeah, I think we're probably all got the right answer there. What do you think?
Oh, look, 95% yes, grass snake, that is correct. Doing well on this one. You were listening then, that goes to show. Okay, my colours act as a warning sign to those that may eat me. I can make a foul smelling and tasting liquid come out of my knees. I'm sorry, Ben's not on there as an option. I'm considered lucky in many cultures. And in Turkey, I am known as a luck bug.
Well, there we are. Can't believe nobody guessed me.
Pretty impressive, this. Maybe I should only give 2 clues next time and see how they do.
Well, I mean, by process of elimination, this one should be straightforward.
It should be.
Let's see. Go, go, go.
Okay, I've been used for treating liver and gallbladder problems. My leaves are rich in iron and vitamin A. My French name means wet the bed. And people think they can tell the time by blowing my seeds. Surely they've got that right.
Well, yes, yeah. We've got 100% of people who've got a particular answer, and I'm sure we're right about that.
They have. Well, I think actually that was the poll with the highest results throughout.
Very well done, everybody. Yeah, everybody really paying attention there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to you guys now and start hearing from you, getting some maybe some questions about spooky species or spooky wildlife that you'd like to learn about. Before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example of something I found online actually, because I was thinking, what is the spookiest bit of wildlife that I can discover? So I'm going to share this one to give you some little inspiration about the sort of things you might like to think about as well. So if I can bring this up here, I found this guy. I heard about him on the radio, and I wanted to find a picture of it. This is zombie fungus. And so I'm sure that's not its full name. But zombie fungus infects the brains of ants. And they still wander around, they're still ants, but as the fungus matures inside their brain, it takes control of them. And what it does is when it's big enough, it makes them climb up to a high place somewhere above all the other ants, where all the other ants are going to be underneath it. And then it sprouts out the top of its head, releasing its spores so that other ants get infected. Isn't that horrifying? The zombie ant. So let me stop my screen share there, and let's hear from some of you. So if you've been on here before, you might remember there's a Q&A box. And if you've got a question, or if you want to share a spooky species idea or fact, then put it in the Q&A box and we'll bring it in so we can hear from you. Currently got nobody. Would anybody like to ask a spooky species question or share a spooky species fact?
Got a smaller group than normal as well, so you've got a good chance of.
It's a pretty good chance you'll be able to come on to the call. What about David or Diane? While we're waiting for people to think that over, have you got any spooky species facts? Or
I've got a question for you. Do you know? You don't necessarily have to know this. Are there any poisonous species of spider in the UK? And if so, how many are there?
Oh, that's
very. You could say none, or you could say 10.
So do you mean poisonous to us or poisonous to anything?
Poisonous to us.
Okay.
Well, we have got some people who want to ask their question. So let's see. We'll come back to your one, Dave. We've actually got Gemma, who's got a question that might be similar, actually, about house spiders. And then following that, we've got Sophie, who's going to ask a question as well. So Gemma, if you're there, I'm just trying to get your speaker to unmute. Oh, there we are. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, what's your question?
Hello. Can house spiders bite you?
So I've heard that there are about 15 different types of spider in this country that can actually bite people, but most of the time it's just going to be itchy. It's not like a particularly bad bite. And I think most people probably wouldn't even notice that they'd been bitten.
So they might bite you, but you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Your skin's quite strong, really, as a human. And, you know, spiders are used to biting things that have got quite soft bodies and things like that to try and paralyze them. So generally, I mean, my mum was bitten by a spider, but it just, as Diane said, it's just a bit itchy. It's not like something that you get in Australia or something like that. We're pretty lucky in our country. You know, there's only 3 actual properly venomous spiders in the UK, and if you're bitten by one of those, like one person has died from a spider bite in about the last 50 years or something. I think that, as far as I remember, that's the statistic. It was a lady. It was actually about 4 years ago, and there was a big thing on the news that this had happened, and everybody started panicking about this spider. But we've had it all the time. It's always been there, but no one's been bitten and nobody's died. And you know, one person in 50 years is, you know.
Is this the false widow?
Sorry?
Was this the false widow?
The false widow spider.
There was a lot of fuss a few years ago, wasn't there, about the false widow spider? Everyone thought we had this sudden spider in the country that was going to kill us all, and it's just not.
Can I tell you something that one of my friends taught me about house spiders? It's very cool, and he actually does this, and if you're brave enough, you can do this without harming a spider. So spiders, you know, you kind of monkey with a house spider, and they run really, really fast, but they've only got enough energy to run for about 30 seconds, and then they go like really still. But they've normally gone under your sofa or under the telly before you can do anything, or get them under a glass and take them outside. But they go really, really still if you can take it for 30 seconds, and then you can pick them up by the front legs. If you get both front legs together, they kind of go into this kind of spasm when you're holding them by the legs. And if you're brave enough, you can just go and put them outside and let them go off and eat all those nasty, creepy crawlies and things that you don't want in your garden, that they do an absolutely brilliant job of getting rid of. but you've got to be brave enough to chase it around and tire it out. I've normally escaped, but I've never been able to do it. I've tried loads of times. They've always gone under the TV or something.
Sounds like the beginnings of a new sport.
I was just going to say it's a new webinar activity, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Spider.
Well, thank you, Gemma. That was a really good question. So we're going to hear from Sophie now, who's got another question about spooky animals.
Is there a traditional type of spooky animal in a country?
So you're saying your question here is, are there different spooky animals for different countries? Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. What do you guys have any?
I think it's quite universal, isn't it? People tend to associate the same animals as being spooky, and it's generally animals that we're frightened of, whether that's with good reason or not. Like, a lot of people are frightened of bats, and if you watched our bat webinar, hopefully we stopped you being frightened if you were, but there's no reason to be frightened of bats, but a lot of people are, and I think, and because they come out at night time, everyone automatically thinks, oh, they're spooky. And if you think, a lot of the animals that we think of as spooky animals are nighttime animals, so owls, moths, bats, and spiders, because lots of people don't like spiders. Most of them are nighttime animals, and I think it's probably why we think they're a bit creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there must be different ones, different countries. In England, it's cats and owls. Owls are considered spooky, yet they're beautiful, aren't they? They're nothing to be afraid of from an owl. Yeah, it's an oddity. But thank you, good question. Let's go across to Jess, who I think has probably got a question that I might struggle to answer. Yes, let's bring you in. So Jess, you need to unmute your speaker.
What do infected ants' kids look like?
Is that the zombie fungus ant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the zombie fungus ant won't have children that are zombie ants. It dies. So when the fungus takes over its brain and it sprays fungus to other ants, those other ants become zombie fungus ants, but they won't have their own children. So they'll no longer lay eggs, which is what ants do, and the eggs won't hatch. That bit won't happen.
Well, it still seems terrifying.
It is gross, isn't it? Honestly, really is gross. But rest assured, there is no zombie fungus for humans or large mammals that I know about. Thank you very much, Jess. Okay, so we're going to go across to Evie now, who's got a question. That's Evie on Jonathan Atwood's Zoom account.
How many babies do bats have?
Oh, bats usually only have one pup at a time, because they actually they need to move sometimes, and they need to carry their pup with them. So the mum will carry it on her. So they only really want one. Occasionally they have twins, but apparently it's quite rare.
Baby bats are called pups, are they?
Yeah.
There you go. That's a great question. Thank you very much, Evie. So we're going to go across to Amelia now. Amelia, if you're there, unmute your mic and ask a question.
Are tarantulas venomous?
All tarantulas.
Do you know any ideas on this one, guys? I think they are, but I don't know.
I'm not a massive tarantula specialist because they're non-native, but as far as I'm aware, I would suggest that they are.
I think
Yeah.
you've done what you've won at this game, Amelia, because you found a question that we don't know the answer to. This does happen every now and then.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say there might be the odd species of tarantula that isn't, but that's generally how what's the big one called? The birds thing. Oh, I can't think what the massive one's called, the biggest tarantula. And that's what kids who live in the country where they are, that's a treat for them. They go out and they catch these great big tarantulas by stabbing them in the middle, and then they roast them on a fire. But they have to be very careful stabbing them, because if the tarantula bit them, it would potentially kill them because they're venomous. And they can have hairs on them that irritate your skin as well, can't they?
Something is in the back of my mind about one. There's a tarantula that people consider to be good for beginners if they want to collect spiders, and I can't remember what it is. Is there a flower? Is it a rose tarantula? I remember seeing a program on TV about a guy who literally got hundreds of tarantulas that he collected in his house, and I think so. I think they all are venomous, but I think that some of them are less so than others.
I've actually just done a little search for this. It says all tarantulas are venomous, and some bites can cause serious discomfort. They may persist for several days.
Yeah. So the power of the internet has beaten us. So thank you, Amelia, for a great question. So we're going to go across to somebody who is actually called Spider, apparently. So hopefully they have a question about spiders
or British wildlife.
Spider, are you there?
Their prey.
Hello, we can hear you.
How do spiders inject venom into their prey?
Was that how do they, or?
Yeah.
Oof. Well, it's all from their fangs, isn't it? So they must have, oh, this is me like clutching at basic, guessing biology, that they must produce the venom somewhere near the fangs and it injects through it. Do you know any more, Dave?
They have retractable fangs that kind of come out and inject the poison in really kind of deep in order to cause the prey to become paralyzed, and then they can retract them again, so they don't always. Imagine if you're a spider and you bit your tongue or something like that. That would be a terrible thing. So they have retractable, kind of sharper. They've got these things. I can't remember the name of them. Palps, I think they're called. That contain the fangs, and they can bring them in and out in order to inject the venom into their prey. Glad I can just go to the fridge and get something to eat.
That's a good question. Thank you, Spider. So we're going to go across to Timothy, or Timothy and Noah, is it?
Yeah.
What was your question?
What's the scariest animal you can think of?
That's a brilliant question.
Different idea for that, won't we? Should we each say what our own scariest is?
Well, mine's going to be a sea snake. There's just something about the way that they move through the water, and I've seen them. I've been swimming and seen them in the sea, and it just really creeps me out. So I don't like them.
You know what? I was going to say exactly the same.
Are you? Wow. Okay.
I've seen them dive. They just give me like down the back of my neck.
Yeah, I mean, and some of them are really poisonous, but their mouths are so small that they can't actually bite you. So they're not dangerous, but they are just freaky.
It just doesn't look right when they can swim across the surface, sea snakes as well.
Yeah, that's the bit that really freaks me out. And they put their head up and then they're like, oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't like that either.
What about you, Dave? You've got a different one.
I'm not massively scared of any animals.
Rugged.
Well, I understand that it's that interaction that you need to be aware of between humans and animals that often causes them to either bite you or attack you or something like that. And so long as your behavior is okay with them, then you're absolutely fine. They're that classic thing. They're generally more scared of you than you are of them. But mine's a diving one as well. And there's nothing scarier than when you're diving and you're swimming along and you've got your equipment on and you look over your shoulder and you see a shark swimming behind you and you realize that it's following you and checking you out. That's scary, because 5 minutes later you look over your shoulder and it's still there.
No, it's when it's gone. That's scary.
Oh yeah. Where is it? I think that's the most scared I've been of an animal.
Well, I've just loved sea snakes, so there you are. Okay, good question. And we're going to go over to Harriet now. But actually, I realise, Harriet, you may have had a similar question. So, but I don't know if you're welcome to change your question, or we'll mix it up a bit. What was it you wanted to ask?
I changed my question.
Great.
Which insect scares you the most?
I've got some thoughts on that. But have you guys got insects that scare you?
There's no insect that actually scares me, but I do find, and this is a really cliched one, do find cockroaches like off-putting. But I think that is just that association with, you know, that belief that we think, well, you're in somewhere not clean if they're around. I don't find any insects actually scary. What about you, Dave?
I guess probably the poor old wasp might be one that, again, I'm not massively scared of any insects, because again, I understand if you don't waft the wasp off, then it's going to probably leave you alone. But in my garden this year, we had a wasp nest and it got disturbed and they literally went bonkers. So I think rather than wasps, I think a whole load of wasps is the thing that I'm probably the most scared of, because they do, you know, they're just protecting themselves, but they do go for you, particularly kind of late in the year when they're a bit dopey and the queen dies, and the queen dies in the nest. They're not like bees. Well, or the queen goes off and kind of leaves the nest behind, and they get a bit lost and they don't know what to do at the end of the year, and that's when they get a little bit unpredictable and a little bit more scary. But yeah, as a group, probably wasps.
Well, what's the common one? Mosquitoes for me. I'm not really scared of them, but they horrify me because they really irritate me. So yeah, that's my one. Great question. Thank you very much, Harriet. So we'll go over to Eleanor now.
Hello. If you put a house spider outside, does it die of the cold?
It's an important question, isn't it, actually? Because I do that sometimes. I've got this thing about spiders in my house. So I like spiders, and I like the house to be full of spiders. Don't mind them at all, because they eat other bugs. But every now and then, somebody in the house will get a bit freaked out about a particularly big one, and I will put it outside to make them feel better. And am I hurting it?
I
don't know if Dave knows the answer to this.
Yeah, well, I've got an answer. They're really, really good at finding places to hibernate and to stay. And the reason they come in your house is because that's the warmest, nicest place to go. If you put them outside, I'm sure quite a few of you have got really nice gardens that are good for wildlife. So if you've got kind of log piles or piles of sticks or a compost heap or an old shed, you can kind of put them under the eaves of the shed, under the roof, or in the pile of sticks, and they've got a really good chance of surviving. But it's not a great idea. I mean, even if you just put them outside on the front, they'll probably crawl away and find themselves somewhere nice and warm. They'll probably come back in your house and you won't see them the next time, and just kind of find themselves that place that they wanted to go anyway. But if you've got loads of places like that for insects and spiders and things to hibernate in your garden, that's a perfect solution to that. You can put them in there.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I know. We've probably got time for one more story or question before we wrap up. We're just having a look through to pick something out. But we've got somebody here who has been stung by a jellyfish. Would you be up for sharing that story? I'm going to bring in Amelia. I think we've been on here once already, but let's bring in Amelia, and perhaps you can tell us about this experience, and then the panel can tell us about their own jellyfish wonders. So, hi, Amelia.
I got stung by a jellyfish when we went to Yorkshire.
In Yorkshire, really? There you go. I always think of jellyfish as being a tropical thing. Did it hurt?
Yes.
And
did you wee on the sting?
I was going to leading up to that one. Did you get any kind of scar or anything from it?
No.
Oh well, that's good. Did you put anything on it to stop it from stinging?
We put some saffron on it.
Saffron, really? That's a very expensive cure for jellyfish stings. Okay, well, and what about were you happy to get back in the water again? You're not worried about getting stung again?
No.
So I lived in Japan for a while, and there are many jellyfish at particular times of year. So I've been stung quite a lot by jellyfish, Amelia. So I really sympathise, and it's not a lot of fun at all. And there are various things you can use to alleviate the pain. But the most effective one I found was ice. That's what works best, to be honest. What about the rest of you guys? Have you been stung by jellyfish?
I've never been stung by a jellyfish. I go in the sea all the time when I'm on holiday around the UK. I've never been. I've felt the odd little tingle where there may have been some kind of stingers in the water around, but no, not really. From probably thousands of times of going in the sea.
Same here, and even on land as well. I've only ever been stung by anything ever once in my life, and that was just my foot. And I didn't even get to see what it was. It was just in long grass, and something stung me.
Well, you're very lucky. On one particular heroic day, I got stung 11 times of a jellyfish, and I felt really ill.
My husband did stand on a sea urchin and get lots of sea urchin spines in his feet, and that he got very ill after that. That makes you very poorly.
Well, that's, I think, about all we've got time for. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. So thanks very much for your questions, and happy Halloween. Are you all going to do a big Halloween bye-bye to each other in the chat? Ooh. I hope you have lots of spooky, wild fun over Halloween. And well, look out. We will share some times and future sessions for further webinars in the future. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.